The world is infected. It's dying.
Remington said.
All our current governments are pretending like they can cure it. Vote for me. I'll end poverty by taxing the rich. Sign this petition. If we get enough signatures, we can end world hunger. But they never do anything. You think you can?
Bea asked.
Not to sound narcissistic.
He stopped pacing and turned to look Bea in the eyes.
But yes. He did it. Greetings, viewer. It is I, Lucy Scary, and today we are finally getting back to another Scrap Stories episode. Today we are joined by another special guest. It's just my cousin, Corley.
Hey, excuse me, I am a wonderful, fabulous star, and I will be demanding that I'm respected as such. Thank you very much.
That's all getting cut out.
How dare you?
So today we are going to be talking about the lost tale of Remington, aka my beautiful baby boy that I had to cut out of Philip's story because he just didn't fit anymore. What do you know about Remington?
That he's an adorable baby boy that has way too many freckles and I love it and I just want to squish him.
Thank you. But like story-wise.
Okay. So I have a very complicated relationship with your stories.
Oh, we don't have time to get into that.
But here's the deal. I know he's adorable and I like him and he's Philip's dad.
He used to.
Used to be Philip's dad. And that's about it.
You don't know anything?
No.
You failed me as a cousin.
You don't tell me everything.
Okay, I'm telling you now. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Basically, the other day, I was looking through my favorite sketchbook. I try not to look at old sketchbooks because, like, I know that I'm going to react to them later, but this is sketchbook 13. It's my favorite sketchbook. It's the one that I brought to Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you that don't know, like, last year, maybe 2 years ago, I tried to write a book about Philip's story, and I, like, developed all this stuff for it, and then eventually I was like, I overworked this, so... anyways, but I was coming across all those old drawings from that time when I was overworking Philip's story. Because, I mean, like, I had to totally speed through the explanation of it in my Evolution of Philip's video, because I did touch on it, but I don't think I really properly explained it, and I just thought it would be really cool to, like, go through all this, like, scrapped material that, like, I developed for the novel and then never ended up using. Because, like, almost none of this is in the actual novel as I had planned. Like, there's no reason that I went this hard, that I went 12 whole pages of summary for Remington's story.
There's a reason, and the reason is you go hard all the time.
I just love this character. Okay. So instead, I'm just gonna go through this scrapped story to tell you about my beautiful baby boy, Remington. But before we dive in, I highly recommend watching the Evolution of my OC Philip videos because I gave an overview of the story there, and I'll be referencing elements of it. Have you seen that video?
I see a lot of things, and I don't remember what I do and do not see.
We're just gonna hope you did. Go watch the other video if you haven't, because there's, like, wild stuff. Like, for instance, like, all of this started as a Code Geass fanfiction.
I knew that.
So, okay, well, of course you knew that. So Remington was originally Lelouch. He was that character that definitely isn't Lelouch. That's what Remington to be.
Correct.
And so it's kind of cool to see, like, I took that, okay, this character needs to not be Lelouch, and just, like, went off and made my whole thing with it. But it's still cool being like, hey, this character used to be Lelouch. Can you even tell looking at him?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. For sure, it looks exactly like, no.
Oh, you've never seen the anime.
Yes, well, I've seen that scene with the darts and the pizza.
It's because I love that scene. A quick reminder that the story is supposed to be alternate history. It's just like our world, but Rome never existed, which is a lot more difficult than I originally thought it would be.
Rome never existed?
It's tragic. No, Rome never existed.
Rome!
I'm PG-13. Okay, so just to simplify things, I replaced everything Roman with mostly Celtic stuff. So, like, in my mind, the little college that Remington goes to is just like our modern colleges, but everything is just, like, a little bit off. So the architecture is different. They speak Gaelic, and everybody uses, like, Greek calendars and stuff like that. Okay, now if you're ready, sit back and relax while I tell you the lost tale of Remington, the leader of the ancient powers. Our story begins long before Philip was born, before the world was destroyed, before anyone alive even knew what ancient powers were. It all starts at a college where 5 young, bright-eyed students have made a club with the goal of global peace. There's Chrisiant, or just Chris, the happy-go-lucky guy who's always ready to crack a joke. There's Ward, a more analytical man of few words who would rather go by realistic than pessimistic. You have Bea, an adorable little ball of feelings that she keeps hidden under a polite smile who will mom you if given the chance. And finally, you have the founders of the club, Morrigan and Remington, siblings and partners in crime. It was Remington's idea to start the club. He was the student council president, chess state champion, and the perfect leader. He had this vision of the future that was so intoxicating. He wanted to build a country that was entirely based off the ideas of maximizing happiness for everyone. The way he spun it was motivating. You could truly tell that he was passionate about making a better world. And when he told you that he could achieve that dream, you believed him. They all believed him, the four of them. That's what their club was. The club was the beginning of a new nation. They called it Quotia. Well, this is kind of dumb, but while I was researching for this episode, in one of the drafts for the Phillips story, it actually went back to Bia's point of view to like explain how the club was established. So like Bia has a huge crush on Christian, and like she's just his classmate, and she finally works up the nerve to ask him out. And so she asks him out, and then Maury comes up, and she's like, "Hey, new girl, do you want to join our cult?" And Chris is like, "It's not a cult," and Maury's like, "That's what we tell the new people." Anyway, so they drag her to Remington's like little club, Quotia, and it's just like this empty room in the music building. And so I just wanted to read this little section because Remy just goes off, and it's like kind of adorable, and I love it. Anyways, do you want to help me read this?
I can.
Okay.
What do I need to do?
You can be Bia and Chris. I'll be Maury and Remy and Ward.
Okay.
Okay. So once she gets to the club, Remy asks, "So what brings you to our humble home, miss?"
Bia said. "I was just done with classes for the day and was invited to check out your country. Do you actually live here?"
"Of course," Maury said. "Can't be a country without residents."
"Not all of us live here," Chris said.
"And no one lives here permanently," Remy said. "Not yet," Maury said, holding up a finger.
"You want people to live here?" Bia asked.
"Not exactly," Remy said. He gestured to the seat in between Maury and Chris. "Why don't you take a seat and I'll explain."
Bia froze for a moment. One foot pointed to the empty chair. The other was pointed towards the door. She forced a smile, though felt uneasy on her face, and took the seat. "Okay," Bia said.
"Here's the plan," Remy said. "This is just a temporary camp, a test of sorts. It's the first base of Quotia. We're still working out all the kinks of our government, but when we do smooth everything out and write a proper constitution, we'll buy some land outside the jurisdiction of any established country and declare independence."
"Rather ambitious," Bia said with a nervous laugh.
"Without ambition, we have nothing," Remy said. "After all, what are revolutions but groups of ambitious people?"
You want to start a revolution?" Bia asked.
"Viva la Quotia!" Maury said. She pumped a fist in the air. The others did the same. At the actual speech, he goes on for like Remy goes off. He goes on for like 5 pages talking about the government, and I was sitting there like, that feeling when you're reading your old writing about OCs and they low-key making sense. I'll post the whole thing on Patreon for my patrons if you want to read it. $5 a month gets you access to exclusive content, including stories, art, and like a bunch of other stuff. If you want to check it out. Please help me, I'm poor. When you actually stop worrying about the logistics of your story and minute details in the narrative, just read over your old work, it's got like a charm to it that I can't resist. Anyways, eventually the gang ends up going on vacation to look at the land to use as a base for Quotia, because, you know, Bia joins them, obviously. That's like the whole plot. Okay, so this leads them to a small abandoned island in the Atlantic. Remy and the others camp there for the night, being goofy and just having a good time. They eat s'mores, tell ghost stories, do some late night swimming, the usual beach episode stuff. Everything changes when they find a cave with ancient writings on the wall. They follow the writings, and it leads them to an area in the cave that opens into a large cavern with like a tall rock pointing to the heavens. The writings whisper in the ears of the friends to push the rock over. Remington is the first to attempt it, followed by Maury, Chris, Bia, and then Ward. They push the rock over, tearing a hole in the sky. Instantly, they begin to glow with a strange gold light. When the light fades, each party member has changed. Remy and Maury's hair has turned a dark purple. Chris's hair has turned white. Bia's eyes have turned green. And a brown line has appeared across Ward's face. That's not why Philip has a line on his face anymore, though. It's different now. They aren't themselves anymore. They're connected to something bigger, something ancient, something powerful.
Me.
Stop! I'm not inviting you anymore. Freaked out, they attempt to return home, but discover their appearance isn't the only thing that's changed. Each of them has a mysterious power. Remy can create clouds of darkness. Maury can cause anything in her line of sight to vanish. Krish can create yellow crystals. Bia can melt anything she touches. And Ward can create spheres of barriers. They regroup at the college, reeling from this turn of events. That's when Mori suggests they do something with these powers. Finally, they have the power they need to be the change they want to see in the world. We can do it! We can take over the government! Heck, we can take over the world! They agreed to march on the capital. At first, it's child's play. They're all amazed at how easy it is to fight off the armies. Remy takes the throne, declaring himself the king. Giddy with powers, they make plans to take over the entire world. Their cause is righteous, after all. People will be happy once they are in charge. Don't give me that look.
Like, I mean, yeah, but like, hear me out.
Would you vote for King Remy?
Okay, here's the deal. You ready? Can we call his campaign the Freckle campaign?
No, you can't vote for somebody based on how many freckles they have.
Oh yeah? Who's gonna stop me?
Me.
But this is democracy.
Okay, well, if things go bad, it's because more armies descend on the capital. So the team has to use their powers again, but this time things are a bit different. The stakes are higher and the team can feel the pressure. They use more and more of their abilities until the power fully overtakes them. And then Remy falls. That's the next thing he knows. He's on the ground. Everything hurts. His surroundings smell like smoke. And there's a baby crying. That's when someone hugs him. He fully regains consciousness to see his sister pulling back from the hug. She looks awful, and he can guess that he looks the same. There's something in her arms. It takes him a moment to realize that it's the crying baby.
Me.
No, this is a serious moment.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, fine. Mori tells him that it's been over a year since the armies attacked the capital. You want me to be the joke? I will be the freaking clown. So Mori tells him that it's been over a year since the armies have attacked the capital. Apparently, once you go under the influence of these ancient powers, the only thing that brings you out is incredible pain, emotional or physical. Giving birth around Mori to... did I mention that Mori's pregnant?
Wait.
Yeah, okay.
Wait. Mori is pregnant? Think about this. No. You are the mother.
What?
You know that show, Maury?
No.
Maury Povich? Where he's like,
It's
you're the father.
It's spelled differently, okay? Maury is actually a lot older than the other group members, so yeah. It helped. Whenever she gave birth, she like snapped out of the ancient powers.
Okay.
So then she tracked down her brother and was able to snap him out of it by like basically like standing in front of him being like, kill me. And then he was like, oh snap, my sister. So Maury explains that in the time that had passed, the 5 of them had almost completely destroyed the entire world. South America was a mess of crushed villages and mountains cut cleanly in half. Africa is a jungle of crystals. Asia is melted. Europe is destroyed. And North America is just gone.
Dun dun dun.
This is a serious story. About 99% of the world's population is gone. Don't you feel bad for laughing now?
I wasn't laughing. I was being dramatic. Dun dun dun.
Okay, fine. The remaining people I sound so annoyed there. Okay, fine. The remaining people flocked together in groups millions of miles apart. No one knew who these 5 kids were, so they were given the name the Ancient Powers. Like, all of them together. Was that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris became the crystallizer.
It's really clear now. It's crystal clear.
Stop! Bia became the melter, Ward the protector, Maury the vanisher, and Remy was the leader. The day they began their attack is now immortalized as the appearance. Maury doesn't know where Ward is. From what she's heard, Bia and Chris have been killed. She gave her child the name Quentin, which is super weird now because I actually have a friend named Quentin. We actually met because I didn't know Quentin wasn't that uncommon of a name and freaked out because I found somebody at my school named Quentin. So
Homeschooler.
No, I didn't know. Okay, because it's supposed to be like alternate reality, so I gave them like kind of weird names. Like Chris's name isn't like Christopher, it's Chrisient.
Yeah.
Which is like...
Quentin is a pretty common name, though.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But now we're friends, so everything's okay. Shout out to my boy Quentin if you're watching. It's clear to Remy that Maury is different now. The sister Remy knew is gone. He can see it in her eyes. As for himself, he feels like he's been destroyed. They find Ward and reestablish them. They just find him. Like, don't even add me. They just find him, okay?
I'm adding you.
No. And reestablish themselves as the leaders of the world. A world in desperate need of leadership. They finally found something to unite them all. The fear of continued chaos. But Maury can't take it. She's always seemed so confident, so strong, but it was all just an act. And she couldn't pretend anymore. Even if she had lost control of herself, she still killed billions of people. They couldn't even count the bodies. There was just nothing there.
Wait. Okay, so was it just that she killed so many, or they're really bad at counting?
No, because she's the vanisher. So
right.
she vanishes people. They literally can't count how many people she killed because they're just gone.
That's wild.
Yeah, I always thought Maury's was the most horrifying powers.
Yeah, Maury, what the heck?
So, like, what she would get, like, these night terrors, and then whenever a guard would come in to, like wake her up, basically, she would just, like, her eyes would just flash gold, and then they'd just be gone. Like, she just has such bad, like, reflexes and paranoia, and, like, yeah, like, Remy had to get maids to raise Quentin because Maury was so terrified to be around anyone. And finally, she decided that the world would be better off without her. One night, Remy knocked on the door to find that she was gone. The cries from her 1-month-old child filled the empty space she left behind. He didn't even need to read the note to understand.
That's so sad! Why would you do that?
It's a sad story, I told you.
Oh, well, I didn't know that sad.
So Remy, of course, blames himself. Because, like, he's like, oh, well, this is my idea. It was my idea to make a new country. It was my idea to go to that island. It was my idea to push their luck and, like, try to take over the world. Maury did nothing wrong. She was trying to support me, her little brother. And look what I did. With Maury gone, their little monarchy had but one ruler, Remy. But Maury's death really weighed on his shoulders. As the years passed, the weight grew. It grew every time he walked through his kingdom and saw the fearful look in his subjects' eyes. It grew when Quentin turned 3 and the maids reported to Remy that the child had vanished his birthday cake. It grew when a fleet came back with news that they found the crystallizer's body. And one day, he breaks too. He runs away. Stop. There's no straw in the camel's back. One night he just leaves. He roams for a while, ending up in the Sahara Desert. There he finds a cute little desert town. No one here knows who he is. That is, no one but the blind man that lives with the nurse. The blind man is named Warner. He's a cute little character. Basically, Warner was the only survivor from the village that was attacked by the leader, which is Remy. He saw he like was running out of town, but he like looked back at the last second and saw the leader in like full power mode, and his eyes were burned off. So the only person that knows who he is the blind man. So like he's safe because the blind man has only seen his face.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so he's just kind of nice to everybody and like trying to atone for his sins.
His Sims?
Stop.
What did he do on The Sims?
His sins!
He must
Probably
have been...
nothing worse than I do on The Sims.
Miss, I'm gonna make a horror on Sims.
Only 3,000 times! So, he's walking down a dusty road one day when he's nearly hit by a rampaging camel. And that's when somebody throws him out of the way. He looks up in time to see the face of a beautiful girl before she's trampled by the camels. Remy panics and does his best to get her out of the feet of the camel, injuring himself in the process. He barely manages to drag the girl to the nurse, passing out right after walking inside and saying the camels trampled her. I don't know if camels are a thing in the Sahara Desert. I needed something that was better than getting hit by a truck. Anyways, he wakes up a few hours later with a broken arm, but no other major injuries. The girl is asleep, and the nurse, Asa, tells him that she doesn't think she will ever wake up. Feeling responsible, Remy asks Asa to continue treating her and offers to do the work for the nurse in exchange for letting her stay. Asa agrees. Also, the only other patient Asa has is Warner. You know, the blind guy. Trauma. After weeks of being by her bedside, the girl wakes up. However, she has no memory. She doesn't even remember what her name is. Remy takes it upon himself to help her get her memories back. Did I ever explain that I got all this, I like stole this plot from a dating game that I played. I don't know, I just randomly remember that. It was like this dumb dating game. One of the plots was like, you straight up hit somebody with your car, and then like the man is like in like full cast, and he's like, I hate you. And you're like, wait, but that's kind of hot. And I was like, I'm gonna do that in one of my stories. Like, Remy's like, I was out to help you, and this girl's like, chill. But like, Remy knows that it's a bad idea, because if she remembers, then she might remember him, and she might remember what he did, you know, killing everybody. But he's like, but hear me out, brain, she's hot. So they get to know each other. The girl picks the name Delilah for herself. I wonder who this girl is. One day, when Delilah is talking to the blind man, Warner, she becomes certain that she can cure his blindness.
Oh wait, I know who this is.
Did you not know who it was before? Wait, Wait, you know who's Philip's mom is?
Yeah, Delilah.
So Remy is terrified of this idea, but tries to be supportive. Delilah searches through the things they recovered for her, but she can't find anything that would even begin to heal blindness. She puts a hand to her ear, where it looks like an earring was ripped out. I need that earring, she realizes. Can the earring heal him? Remy asks. No, but the earring can help me find something to heal him, Delilah answers. Like a map? He asks. She hesitates, but agrees. They set out to find the earring, and slowly Delilah's memories begin to come back. One night, she tells Remy that she's scared to find that earring. She says that she doesn't like the person that she was with that earring. Remy admits that he's scared of what will happen whenever she finds the earring too, because of what the earring might reveal about what kind of person he is. And then a few days after that conversation, Remy finds the earring. He debates with himself over what to do with it. On one hand, he should give it to Delilah, but she said herself that she was scared of getting it back. No, that wasn't why he was hesitating. He was scared of her finding out. But he decides that he loves Delilah more than he fears his past. So Remy shows Delilah the earring. She doesn't touch it, the nervousness clear on her face. Instead, they bring it with them to warn her. The old man can sense how much Delilah doesn't want to take the earring. He tells her that he's happier without his sight. I think sometimes you're better off with a part of yourself missing, he says. I would rather be incomplete and happy than complete and miserable. I don't know if I still stand by that. A lot of this I wrote as a summary for the story before I actually got writing. I don't know. What do you think?
So I have thoughts about this. It's kind of in the same way that I've changed my mind about cameras I was telling you about the other night. So, like, I used to be very against, like, using any kind of, like, filter because, you know, that's not the reality of the camera. But then you're seeing it in a much more beautiful way. So I feel like that can almost translate to this. So, like, are you missing out by not being really authentic?
I think it's weird for an old blind guy to say this.
Right. Like
it's a weird message to put in something. Like, you're better off not knowing. Ignorance is bliss. Delilah and Remy take this to heart, giving the earring to Asa to hold on to. Remy tells Delilah that he doesn't care who she used to be, and Delilah says the same. With that, they start dating for real. Eventually, they get married, the whole town celebrating for a week. One day, a couple years later, the two of them are in the kitchen of their little home. Delilah is pregnant, and they're discussing names. That's when two masked men break into their house. Delilah and Remy make a run for it, but Delilah is shot in the heart. Remy cries over her body, trying to carry her into town. He makes it to the edge of a cliff. Are there cliffs in this affair? I don't know. And before the men catch up to them, his wife and child dead, he surrenders. The men throw him off the cliff and leave. Right before he hits the ground, his powers activate for the first time in a long time. They soften his blow, leaving him with only a few injuries. He runs back to the top of the hill, or cliff, but Delilah's gone. He's all alone again. Defeated, he returns to his empty home in the little desert community. He is unconsolable. He never really gets over her either. The anxiety from his past life is too much to even consider. He doesn't want to think about what he's left behind. All he can do is feel what he's lost. And you know the rest of the story. That is, if you watched Philip's evolution video.
I think I watched it. I just forget things.
Okay. If you've seen the video, you can see what I mean. Like, literally in the video, I'm like, and then they go back to Remy's place. Remy is Philip's father. Like, that's literally all I said about Remy. When I say I glossed over some things, I mean I really glossed over some things.
Glossed over. More like poured wax all over it.
But another thing I glossed over was the final reunion scene. Okay, so I don't think it was in the version that I talked about, but in most versions of the story, the reason that King Quentin is gone is because he's actually out there looking for Remy. Are you mad at him now?
I'm like...
He left a baby to rule.
I feel a lot of feelings about Remy. Maybe it is a mistake to vote for somebody based on freckles.
You think? 2 decades later, King Quentin receives word that somebody resembling Remington was spotted in the Sahara Desert. So he sets out to find him. And like, honestly, I could do a whole video on Quentin because he's my favorite character from this universe. But I think that would just divulge into me just crying about how he doesn't deserve any of this.
I bet your friend Quentin would be very impressed.
Shout out to my boy Quentin ×2. So, having been the child whose birth marked the end of the world and raised as the sole ruler of a destroyed people, Quentin had a lot of questions for his lost uncle. So when Quentin arrives, he finds Remy pretty quickly, and at first he's just like super angry. He completely chews Remy out. How could you leave a kid with all your problems, you genocidal maniac? So in most versions of the story, Delilah did help Quentin, normally as a royal advisor, but neither her nor the protector, who swore an oath of silence after the events of the appearance and yada yada, but they never told him about what really happened that year. And Remy just kind of takes it. He just, like, kind of sits there. He's like, yeah, I deserve this. And then Quentin goes on his whole rant, and Remy's just sitting there, and then he's like, are you done? And Quentin's like, no. And he's like, okay, let's go back to my house and just talk everything through. And so they do. There's a lot of variations of the story here. Sometimes Quentin gets word that the Capitol is being destroyed, and he returns to Delilah with Remy. And other times, Delilah goes to get Quentin with Philip, Ren, Thea, all the crew tagging along. In any case, Delilah and Ren do meet again. They're both, like, super overjoyed, like, oh my gosh, I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead.
Oh, death.
No death. And then they hug it out and stuff, and Remy's like, okay, cool. But who's the kid? You know, referring to Philip. So from there you get all the reveals, and then there's like a lot of variations of the story, but eventually the dimension tears apart for good because they like split open the sky like 30 minutes ago. Delilah goes on Magical Girl, and Remy dies along with everybody else in the dimension. All the other Remys are fine though. Like the Remy in the dimension that Philip gets kicked into at the end of the story is pretty chill, especially since Philip just kind of gets plopped right in front of his doorstep, and Remy's just like, oh, okay, this is the thing that's happening now. Who the heck are you? And Philip's just like, come on, we already did this. And yeah, that's pretty much Remy's whole story. Again, I really like him as a character, and I put a lot of time into his backstory, but overall, I'm kind of glad that I scrapped it. As you can tell, none of this is really important to Philip's character, and it just all seems really unnecessary if the story is only to establish Philip in the Overseer's universe. Like, does Rome really need to not exist if we're going to destroy 99% of the world anyways? What do you think of Remy? You said that you had thoughts.
My main thought is, wow, like I said, regret voting for someone based on freckle count. Apparently not a good indicator of how good of a boy they are.
I'm so torn because
He's such a good boy, but he's such a bad boy.
what does he do that's wrong?
Hello, welcome to Quentin.
Oh yeah, he does kind of screw up with Quentin.
You wrote this story.
Yeah, Quentin is the only valid character.
Okay, but I have a question about Quentin. It's very important. How many freckles does he have?
He has about Philip level freckles.
It's not enough freckles.
Oh, you know who you're actually going to love?
Who?
Philip's new dad.
Wait, what?
He's like Remy, but evil and canon.
He's adorable. Why isn't he Remy?
So, like, basically I turned the whole story into, like, this big Battle Royale universe.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the characters were really easy to port over into the new universe, but it really did not make any sense for Remy's character for him to be in a Battle Royale because of, like, role-building reasons and also character reasons.
Also, it's Kogios fanfiction.
Well, it isn't anymore. So I basically just took his powers and design and gave him to a new character, Dawn, who is much more murdery, but he also has like just as complicated as a backstory. It's actually not unnecessary though, because his backstory ties into the larger Overseer universe. Whereas Remy's backstory was just like floating and not attached to anything and just served to complicate a plot that was already very complicated. In conclusion, let me know what you think of Remington in the comments. Are you sad that I scrapped him? Are you glad that I scrapped him so I could tell you about him in a video instead? Do you think I should still find a way to work this bean of a boy into a story somehow? I really don't know.
I want him back. He's got freckles and he's cute, but screw him being mean to Quentin.
What about Don? He's got freckles.
Don has freckles.
He's also much more of a dad. Look at that receding hairline. Thank you, Corley, for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me for this angry, I want Remy to be, okay, yeah, bye.
Okay, I'll see you guys the next episode. Bye.
Bye.